Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Passan and I am very excited to be here with you today in order to explain you this English lesson. It corresponds to Unit 8 of your books and the topic is past events, so we are going to study the simple past tense. As I told you, in this lesson we are going to explore the simple past tense in English. We will start with the verb to be in the past tense, understanding how to use it in affirmative, negative, and interrogative forms. Then we will move on to the past simple of regular and irregular verbs, learning how to form and use them correctly. Additionally, we will cover important vocabulary related to the unit, including past time expressions and free time activities using regular and irregular verbs. So, are you ready for this? Let's get started. Before watching a video, let's look at the lesson objectives. First, understand a test about past events in people's working lives. Then, use the simple past of be in affirmative statements correctly. How to use was and were. Use a lexical set of past time expressions correctly, expressions with last and ago, and some others such as yesterday or specific dates in 1998, in 2011, etc. Use the simple past of be in negative statements, wasn't and weren't, and questions correctly, how to structure or how to form yes no questions and WH questions with the past tense. Ask and talk about where you and other people were at different times. So it's time to continue with the video. It's a past simple story. It's Billy's first day at work. In this video, you will see some highlighted words. Those words are regular and irregular verbs and also some expressions with was and were. So please pay attention.
Billy woke up at 4:30 on Monday morning. He didn't want to be late for his first day at work. So he got dressed quickly, ate breakfast, and left his house with his bicycle and Rocky. It was still dark outside, and the moon was shining brightly. Billy cycled as fast as he could, and Rocky followed him to the shop. Outside, Billy saw two large piles of newspapers waiting for him in two bright orange bags. And when he looked inside, he could see some instructions and a map. The first delivery was to the large white house on the corner, and he delivered 5 newspapers to them. They must like reading the news, Billy thought to himself as he posted them through the letterbox. He then looked at the map again and followed the clear instructions and went from house to house and put the folded papers through people's front doors. Everyone in the neighborhood was still asleep, and the only person Billy saw was the milkman, who was delivering milk, eggs, and bread that people would have for breakfast in a few hours. Everything was going well. Then suddenly, Rocky saw a fox and started barking loudly. "Rocky, shh! I will lose my job. Please be quiet." Rocky stopped barking for a short time, and then he continued, but much more quietly. It took about an hour and a half for Billy to deliver all the papers, and he left the empty orange bags outside the shop and returned home with Rocky. Billy was tired and he went back to bed. At first, he couldn't sleep, and he was thinking that he would have to wake up every day at 4:30 and do it all again. For a second, he thought about quitting the job, but then he changed his mind and said to himself, "Think of the money, Billy. Think of the money," before falling asleep. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to visit our website www.elearningenglish.com and see you in the next video. Bye for now.
So after watching this video, let's see or study when do we use the simple past tense. We use the simple past to mention an action that started and finished at a specific time in the past. For that, we can use the past tense of verb to be, was and were, and also it could be wasn't and weren't, the negative forms, depending on the subject pronouns, as well as regular and irregular verbs that we will see in the next slides. As you can see in the video, the person describing Billy's routine used many regular and irregular verbs, as well as past forms of verb to be, was and were. As for irregular verbs, some examples in the video are got dressed, ate breakfast, left his house, saw, thought. For regular verbs, we have looked and followed. Some expressions with verb to be are it was dark or people were asleep. In the timeline that is in the slide, you can see the X is placed in the past, marking where the event took place. So the X that we have in this timeline shows us a completed action in the past. To state when the action took place, we can use adverbs of time or past time expressions. Some of these are yesterday or phrases with last, with the words last and ago. For example, last year, last week, last weekend, 10 years ago, 2 days ago, an hour ago. In 1993, in 2002, the other day, the day before yesterday, and a long time ago. To structure or to form positive statements with was and were, let's see this chart in which we have first the subject, then was and were. It depends on the subject, a complement, and the adverb of time or past time expression. For I, you need was or wasn't. For you, were and weren't. For he, she, and it, you need was or wasn't. For we, you, and they, you must use were or weren't. So you have these examples. I was in Quito 2 days ago. I wasn't in Guayaquil last weekend. He or Pedro was in a party 2 days ago. Maria or Tanya was sick last month. You were on vacation last week or last weekend, and they were at the cinema last Saturday. Okay, so for positive statements, you have the subject pronoun. Depending on that subject, you are going to use was or were, or wasn't or weren't, then the complement, and then the adverb of time or the past time expression. So after looking at these examples, we can infer that the simple past of verb to be is used to talk about past states or conditions. For example, my dad was tired after work, or the students were hungry after classes. Also to talk about past locations. I was at home all day. The students were in class yesterday. or they were in Spain last summer. To describe past events, it was cold yesterday. The students were excited about the trip. Let's continue and let's see more examples using was and were, and also wasn't and weren't in these statements. She was at work yesterday. As the subject pronoun is she, or it can be also a name, Tanya, Stephanie, we're going to use the past form of be was. So she was at work yesterday. In this slide, we have a negative and a positive statement. Thomas, or he, wasn't at work yesterday. He was at the pool. The students, or they weren't in class this morning. They were, or the students were at the theater. For yes, no questions, we change the order of a positive statement. What we are going to do is to place first was or were, then the subject pronoun, the complement, and the adverb of time. So, were you in class yesterday? Yes, we were, or no, we weren't, or we were in class yesterday. That's a long answer or a full answer, a complete answer. Here you can see more examples of yes, no questions with was and were. Please remember to pay attention to the subject pronoun because depending on that subject pronoun, you are going to use was or were. So if you have I as a subject pronoun, you must use was. Was I correct? Yes, you were. No, you weren't. If the subject pronoun is you, you are going to use were. Were you busy yesterday? Yes, I was. No, I wasn't. Were you and John ready? Yes, we were. No, we weren't. Were they hungry or were Mike and Jack worried? Yes, they were. No, they weren't. For he, she, and it, remember to use was. Was Steve frustrated? Was Mary at home last night? Was the English exam difficult? Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. For yes, no questions, first place the WH words. Some WH words are what, where, who, which, how, why, etc. Then was or were and the corresponding or the subject pronoun. For example, I have here, where were you? I can't say, yes, I was, no, I wasn't, because in the question you have the WH word where. So, where were you? I was in the mountains. I was in the mall. I was in a party. I was in my house, or I was at home. Some other examples of WH questions with was and where are these. How was your holiday? My holiday was fantastic, or it was terrific, it was awesome, it was perfect. Where were you last Friday? I was in the hospital, I was in my house. When was your last party? It was 2 days ago, or it was last weekend. Who was your hero in primary school? It was my dad, it was my mom. How was the food last weekend? It was good, it was bad, it was excellent, it was delicious, it was awful. Why were you here yesterday morning? Why? The question is with why. You must answer with because I had English classes. Who was your best friend in primary school? My best friend in primary school was Sophia. That's an example of a full answer, a complete answer, or just say it was Sophia, it was Nicolas. When was your last exam? My last exam was last month, 3 months ago, a week ago. So after explaining the past form of verb to be, was and were, let me summarize this part by giving you some examples, some positive examples, negative sentences or statements, and yes, no questions and WH questions, just to close this part. So, for example, a positive statement with was and were could be yesterday I was at the park, or I was at the park yesterday. My friends were in class this morning. To make negative sentences, don't forget to add not after was or were, or use contractions wasn't or weren't. I wasn't at home yesterday. My sister wasn't sick last week. To ask questions, don't forget to change the order of a positive statement. You need first was or were, then the corresponding subject and the complement. And if you think it's necessary, you can add the adverb of time or past time expression. Were you happy? Yes, I was. No, I wasn't. Was he at work? Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. For WH questions, please don't forget to put first what, where, when, why, who. After that, was or where. For example, where was your mom yesterday? She was at work. Why were the students late? Because the bus was slow. For these WH questions, you can't answer with yes, I was or no, I wasn't. Please don't do that. You need to provide more details or give more information. As I told you before, we use the past simple to talk about actions that started and finished at a certain time in the past. For the simple past tense, we use regular and irregular verbs too. In this example, you can see the verb studied. This is the past tense of the base form of the verb study. And this is a regular verb. She studied for her exam all night. In this slide, you can see a short list of regular and irregular verbs. First, let's focus on regular verbs and the corresponding spelling rules. So for most regular verbs, you must add ed, but there are some variations depending on the verb's ending. For example, if the verb ends in e, so you just add d. That's an example of that. It can be love, loved, and the verb dance, danced. Verbs ending in consonant plus y. If the verb ends in y preceded by a consonant, change y to I and add ed. Some examples are cry. The verb cry ends in y and is preceded by a consonant. So you drop y and add I, ed. Cry, cried, study, studied. It's the same with the verb study. Study, studied. Verbs ending in a vowel plus consonant. If the verb ends in a single vowel followed by a consonant, except for exceptions like W, X, and Y, double the final consonant and add ed. Stop, double P and add ed. Plan, double N and add ed. Verbs ending in a vowel plus W, X, or Y, don't double the final consonant, just add ed. For example, play, played, and fix, fixed. Finally, if the verb ends in e, just add d. Next to the regular verbs, you can see also a short list of irregular verbs. The past tense of break is broke. The past tense of see is saw, think, thought, give, gave, get, got, feel, felt, and go, went. You will find many lists of irregular verbs on the internet that you must memorize or learn by heart. Let's see more examples of positive statements using regular and irregular verbs. Example, the Titanic sank in 1912. The past tense of sink is sank. This is an irregular verb. John Wilkes Booth killed President Lincoln in 1865. Kill is a regular verb. In this case, you must add ed to the verb. Neil Armstrong landed onto the surface of the moon in 1961. This is also a regular verb. You must add ed. In this chart, you can see the past simple tense structure with a regular verb, but it's the same with regular verb, but it's the same for irregular verbs. You use the subject, then the regular verb or the irregular verb complement, and if you think it's necessary, also the adverb of time or past time expression. For example, I worked a lot last week. For negative sentences, the auxiliary of the past tense is didn't. If you use didn't, you use the base form of verbs. I didn't work. Don't say I didn't worked, for example. It's I didn't work. And it's the same for questions because the auxiliary is did, so you use the base form of verbs when you have the auxiliary didn't or did. Didn't for negative statements and did for yes no questions. Or also that auxiliary can be in the WH questions. Short answers, for short answers, use the auxiliary did or didn't. So he worked, he didn't work. Did he work? Yes, he did, or no, he didn't. Let's continue with the vocabulary of the unit. Time expressions or adverb of time that adverbs of time that belong to the past tense are the following: last night, last week, last year, yesterday morning, yesterday evening, yesterday afternoon. We have also some other expressions in here that you can study. As I told you before, using last, using ago, and using the word yesterday. As you could see in the video, the person that was describing Billy's daily routine used regular and irregular verbs. So here you can see some of those verbs describing a daily routine, but in the corresponding past form. I woke up, I took a shower, I started work, etc. For practice, we will click on these links, or we will go to these links, and you will find different exercises, interactive activities, and games in order to practice the past tense of verb to be, and also regular and irregular verbs. The platform that we're going to use is WordWall. In this platform, you are going to practice, or you will find exercises like this. For example, he on holidays, and you must choose the correct answer. He was or he were. He was on holidays, right? That's the correct answer. Was. You was or were. You were annoyed. My favorite TV programs was or were Ben 10 and Pokemon. So my favorite TV programs, the correct answer is were. Also, you must choose the correct answers with was and were for yes no questions. So you will find exercises like this. Was the umbrella in the car? Was or were Bill and Fred at the restaurant? So the correct answer is were Bill and Fred at the restaurant. Also, the past tense of regular and irregular verbs. What's the past tense of feel? Felt. Past tense of drink? Drank. Choose the correct verb. I liked the school. Yesterday we played tennis. Also, there is an activity like this to practice in pairs or with your classmate with yes no questions using was and where. Was your best friend with you at the party? Yes, he was, or no, he wasn't. Was the lecture interesting yesterday? Yes, it was, or no, it wasn't. To practice vocabulary, you will go to Quizlet platform. You will find the unit here and some activities to complete. Sometimes you will see the names of the activities in Spanish and sometimes in English. For example, for the word fichas, you will see flashcards for aprender learning and exercises, etc. You click on these activities and you must study your vocabulary. For example, here you will see the words of the past time expressions or adverbs of time. For example, last night, and you will see some flashcards, and also you will find some games. Okay, so it's time to say goodbye. Today, as you could see, we reviewed the past tense of the verb to be, was and were, negative forms wasn't and weren't. Also, the corresponding forms of regular and irregular verbs. Remember that was and were are used for the verb to be. Regular verbs simply take the ed or d at the end. And irregular verbs have a unique past forms that must be memorized. So keep practicing these rules, and see you next time. So keep up the great work. Okay. See you. Take care. Thanks for your attention. Goodbye.